40. Julie's the only one. She hasn't said she's not coming, so she may be running late, so. Meeting minutes from November 18th. Oh, we need to adopt the agenda. I skipped, sorry. So moved. Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Meeting minutes of November 18th. Need a motion to approve.
I so moved.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Board president report. Oh, I do have that. I hope everyone had a chance to relax and recharge over the holidays. As we begin our new, there's Julie, I told you she was coming. As we begin a new calendar year, we can move forward with renewed energy and focus on our next steps in our library business. I would like to thank and congratulate the administrative team for the successful meetings held for the ambassadors program. I attended both sessions and I commend the team for the thoughtful preparation and the meaningful work that will result from this program. The Mountain Maryland PACE event, if you don't know what PACE stands for, it's Positive Attitudes Change Everything, will take place next week. I will be attending as the executive director of the local management board, and I will also advocate for the library's needs while engaging with legislators. But I'm confident that Lisa and Ashley will also represent the library system exceptionally well. In the upcoming months, we will be focusing on more important matters related to the Westernport Library and the budget. The Board of Trustees remains committed to doing the necessary work to move the library forward. The executive director report, Lisa.
Okay. Just to pick a few things out of my report. We did have the meeting, I had an introductory meeting with the NTech engineering group. This is the group that a grant was funded through the Western Maryland Regional Library, and they will be going around to all of our facilities to do an evaluation of the facilities, which will result in a report that will include photographs and costs associated with some of the equipment that might be reaching end of life. So I'm really excited about that. The timeline for that to start is the end of this month or early February. There will be a team of 2 or 3 who will be visiting each branch, and they will, I think over the series of weeks, they will tour each branch and do that evaluation. The final report will be given to us in May. So that report will be very handy for us to have as we create plans related to our facilities. We can prioritize what needs attention and start to budget around those needs, look for grants, that sort of thing. So I'm really excited about that project.
Will they be giving you any preliminary, like findings, like maybe anything that's glaring?
I don't know if they'll do that along the way or not. But I know that they were asking for things like the plans that we have, floor plans, any kind of drawings that we have from the building. So I'm going to be providing that to them. And if I'm able to kind of tag along with them, I'd like to kind of do that, at least for a couple of the branches, to make some notes myself as, they're observing what they're seeing, that we can hear what they're saying as they're looking at it. But yeah, I think that'll be very handy for us moving forward. I contacted a flooring contractor to have them look at the floor here at LaVale, just because you've probably noticed that it looks a little dingy. So that's just like one of the examples of the things that were reported by the staff as concerns. So I'm kind of just gradually going down through and looking at each building and each of those projects that have been identified as a need. I contacted Resources for Independence. Renee recommended that I speak to them. And my goals with the meeting with them were twofold. The first was to kind of consult with them about handicapped accessibility at the temporary location at Western Port Library, because if you remember, like right now, we have a couple of steps that people need to take to get up into the building. So I wanted to, get their feedback and their input as far as to how we should approach that. They did let me know that they have a contractor that they typically work with who understands all of the ADA compliance regulations. So, we'll be kind of taking a look at that to make sure, because I know when we opened that first day, there was a lady in a walker who was having some difficulty getting into the building. So we need to kind of get that taken care of. The other consultation that I was doing with Resources for Independence was related to this branch and an evaluation to make sure that we are within ADA compliance. John Michael came to the library before the holidays and sort of did a cursory glance at the facility, and he thought that we might have some areas where we're not quite in ADA compliance. Chiefly the distances between the adult shelving. There may not be enough width between the shelves for a wheelchair to turn and move. And then also he cited it might be a little tight at the ends of the, like when you have the wall and then the beginning of the shelf, the distance between those 2 points might also be a little tight for people who are in wheelchairs. So the next step with that, next week, he and a team will be coming to do measurements and to provide a report for us about what areas might be problematic for us that we might need to kind of move some things around. Other areas that we're looking at is there have been some complaints from people about the thresholds between the tile floor and the carpet, that can act sometimes as a speed bump for people to have some difficulty getting their wheelchairs over top of that. So again, they're going to do some measurements to see if we are in compliance with the height of our thresholds. And then we're also looking at the entrances. Although we have handicap accessible doors on the side of the building here, there was never a cutout of the curbing to enable a wheelchair to come up and enter from that direction. The only area is down on the corner here. So looking at those kinds of things as well to see, are there some improvements that we can make just by simply taking that curb and creating maybe some cutouts so that people can enter in that way. So lots of things with facilities going on. Talking about budgeting and operations, I asked the staff for input about our hours of operation to hear their ideas and impressions. And I was very pleased that I received back numerous well thought out responses. So I'm in the middle of kind of drafting some ideas, and I'm going to set up some meetings with our administrative team to discuss some of those ideas and work a little bit on the hours of operation just to revisit that conversation and incorporate the impressions and ideas of our staff. Worked on a draft of the fiscal year 27 budget, which we'll talk about a little later in the meeting. And we are now back in business as far as book deliveries are concerned. So if you remember from our November meeting, we were in the middle of, we have vendor Baker and Taylor. They were a 200-year-old company and they unfortunately went out of business. So we had to scramble to get set up with a different vendor for libraries. Our materials department staff had to reorder all of the books that they had previously ordered throughout the month of October. So thousands and thousands of reorders had to be done. And starting in November and especially in December, we started getting a deluge of new books coming in. So we had that period of time where the books that were populating our shelves were a little sparse, but we're now back into the swing of things. So that was good news. As far as media is concerned, thanks to a connection made by Julie, I was interviewed for the New York Times article related to the Western Port flood. And although there was not a lot of details included about the library specifically, I was pleased that that included a link to our Give Butter fundraiser in the article. And that resulted in over $2,500 in new donations to the Western Port Library Flood Recovery Fund, which was great. Financially, we received notification that we've received the Nora Roberts Foundation grant that we applied for in the summer. The grant amount is $5,000, and that is for library collections for all of our branches. We also received the Reeves Foundation grant in the amount of $5,000 to be used for collections and programming for the Western Port Library. And I'm very grateful to Carol Kenny for her assistance in connecting me with the grant committee regarding our application. Kind of in reference to setting up the new vendor for books, I've been working on all of the new systems related to billing and invoicing. I wanted to give a shout out to Allie Klein in the materials department. She's been really helping to sort invoices and kind of give me an extra set of hands to make sure that the packing lists and invoices match. And so she's putting them in a folder so that I know that everything's been accounted for and they're ready to be paid. So I really appreciate her extra help on that. And then I have a number of different shout outs that I also wanted to make to other staff who have been working really hard. Each meeting, I want to try to spotlight different staff members who have been doing really good things in the library. So this month, I wanted to commend Ashley Swinford for putting together the end of year giving campaign. Ashley set a goal of $6,500 to start and promoted the giving opportunity, sort of the end of year giving. So far, over $5,700 was raised for the library system. So great job doing that. You did a great job of repeating and getting that in front of people.
Thanks.
So thank you for doing that. Renee Mason deserves our thanks for her work to outfit our branches, especially Western Port Library, with items from the old West Vaco offices. Renee identified, cleaned, and transported some quality cabinets and beautiful wood shelving for free that really enhanced the Western Port Library at 121 Main, as well as provided office furnishings that were just too hard to pass up. So thank you for all of that hard work, Renee.
You're welcome.
Amber Shipley, who works here at our LaVale Library, deserves recognition for taking the lead in organizing the Fall Food Finds Plates and Paws effort in the month of November. Amber worked hard to make connections with the animal shelter to collect food for pets and also created an extensive and detailed plan for meal kits for the branches. We held a gingerbread house contest where staff decorated just to have some fun, and the public voted for their favorite, and the Western Port Library won the major award, which is a Santa medal. And then the materials department, Marilyn, Nora, Lisa, and Allie, and the Frostburg staff, Caitlin, Maureen, and Allie, have been hard at work preparing the new Library of Things collection for the Frostburg Library. Using donated funds, we're really excited that the collection will include all kinds of fun things like backyard explorer backpacks, which are going to be binoculars, bird and plant identification, and a walking stick, pet carriers, step stools, food dehydrators, pressure washers, step stools. I said step stools twice. I must really like the step stool. Toolkits, food processors, clamps, a pasta machine, and more. So look for the debut of this collection soon, and we hope to expand Library of Things to other branches as well. Ashley, Renee, and Shay did a wonderful job with their presentations at the Library Ambassadors kickoff meetings. We look forward to continuing to develop this important new fundraising arm for the library. And then finally, upcoming, I'm beginning my attendance at a executive leadership cohort, which is going to be a once a month meeting at Baltimore at the Maryland State Library Agencies. It's a training program designed for executive directors. So the timing couldn't be better for this, and I'm really looking forward to that. And please join us on Saturday, this coming Saturday, January the 17th, for our Library Ambassadors reception. And that is from 12 to 2 here at the LaVale Library. And then, as Renee said, Ashley and I will be going to Mountain Maryland Pace in Annapolis on the 22nd and the 23rd of the month. So that is 2 months packed into one for my report.
Okay, old business request to rename the Washington Street Library for Mary Walsh.
So in your packets, I included the original document where the request was outlined, and then I also included the 2020 policy for gift donation and naming rights, for your reference as well.
I guess I just want to say as a library patron, and I did my research and said to see how many libraries across the state are named after people, and it looks like some have been renamed. I had no idea the Washington County Main Library was named after someone, but people just call it the Washington County. I sort of, I'm on the fence, I guess. Most libraries are named after towns, and if I was moving to a new place and I saw the library was called, Boonesboro Library, it would give me an idea of where I was going to find that library. It's in Boonesboro. So, I mean, I'm not terribly against it, but boy, the fact that she spent all those years and did so much is a wonderful thing, but I'm just sort of on the fence about, I like the idea that when you say the Western Port Library, it's in library. It's in Western Port, Georges Creek Libraries in Georges Creek and so on, so in the Georges Creek region. But according to my very rough research, and it was kind of hard, there were a couple libraries, it was hard to tell on the list of libraries, there were a couple of things that probably weren't relevant, but I came up with 195 or 196 branches statewide, and about 6% were named after various people, more in the larger areas, I guess.
Is there a contribution associated with this?
In the policy, it does discuss about.
Yeah, in the
monetary
policy, but
gifts.
I mean, for
Oh,
their,
as far as in their proposal, I do
Yes.
not believe so.
Am I remembering, I should probably read and find this out, but was there already a plaque with her name on it in the library? Is that still visible?
There is a plaque that was in the building that, we recently found again, that we are working on getting installed. And it was for the children's room specifically.
Okay, was that from a donation or was that
That was
just an honor?
such a long time ago.
Yeah.
I don't know,
No
I don't think
idea.
anybody knows.
So it was like the Mary Walsh Children's Room? Is
Yeah,
that how?
yeah, I think it was honoring her, and it was specifically, it says on, about the children's room.
The children's room was probably the original section, and then it was
Yes.
added on to later then, so.
Yes,
I mean, it was really, especially, I think everything was done by typewriters, a major job, adding branches, a major job. I'm just kind of location.
Yeah.
I guess what's concerning to me is when you start doing that, what happens next month when someone comes along and says, well, let's change the Georgia
Crossed
Creek
my mind
Library to
too.
this person? What offense do we have? When you start changing their names, it's the
Well,
same with those statues, and they start taking them down, it just snowballed, and there's
right,
all these statues coming down.
and our policy clearly states that renaming a library building. They have to make a substantial gift to the library.
I mean, it does say or operational support of a new branch, which I don't know if that is retroactive, like in 1925.
Yeah,
But I agree that it may be.
I think that the policy needs some clarification. First of all, I had some issues with the whole policy, but, the way that I read it, and I don't know if this is the way that it was intended, but, to rename a building, there would have to be substantial monetary donation.
so Renee found, she has a picture of the plaque.
Oh, good, okay.
Children's room dedicated in honor of Miss Mary G. Walsh, first librarian, 1924 to 1963. Then within my bosom, softly this I heard, each heart holds the secret, kindness is the word. So it's a,
Would it be as an alternative to do like a rededication? Since the sign is, or the plaque has been found, could we rehang it and, you know, clean it up and maybe do just it's been 100 years, right? So, sure. I'll make a motion to consider doing a rededication to rehang the plaque and acknowledge the contributions.
I'll second that. Yeah, the link that I sent on, it was somewhere downstate, they were asking for quite a substantial donation just for a room.
Well, in the policy, I mean, the way that I read it, it's substantial.
50,000.
50% of a current assessed value of facility.
That's very substantial, that's for sure.
That's an existing building. All in favor of the motion?
She said again.
Motion is to, do a
a
rededication.
rededication, and acknowledge Mary Walsh's contributions. So Julie made the motion and I think Molly seconded it.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? You'd have to be 100 years old. No, I'm only kidding. Motion carries. Request from Save the Westernport Library.
So I received this communication on December the 12th. When Save the Westernport Library was in the beginning of our fundraising campaign, we stated that anyone donating $500 or more to Save the Westernport Library would have their name displayed on a nice plaque, which would hang in a prominent position in our library. We would like to proceed with the creation of this plaque. When finished, may it be hung in our temporary location and when available at 66 Main Street. I included the original Facebook post from April 18th, 2025, which you can see in the highlighted area at the bottom, does state all donors $500 and above will be acknowledged on a plaque, which will be presented to Kathy Murphy to display in our libraries. I did some checking and I was not able to find where there had been any previous communication about this with library administration or the Board of Trustees. There is precedent for donor appreciation walls in our library branches. In the past, branches such as Washington Street and Georges Creek have had donor walls or plaques displayed in the branch, but these have been donations that were directly given to the branches during fundraising for branch renovations or building projects. There is no precedent for an outside organization hanging donor plaques in the library branch. So that was the reason why I think this needed to come before the board, because it is a bit unusual. We've never had this situation before where an outside donor receiving funds that aren't directly going to the library. Do you get what I'm saying? It's like we're not receiving the funds directly. The group is receiving the funds, which are then presumably being given to the library, but it would be sort of like the Lions Club giving the money to, the LaVale Library, versus people giving money to the Lions Club for the LaVale Library and expecting a plaque to go up. So it was new territory and I wasn't quite sure how to handle that request. So I thought I would bring it before you to see what you thought.
Has there been any more communication since they sent this request?
No, because I think in my response, I just said that I would be bringing this up at this evening's meeting.
Okay.
That's sort of where
The
we,
board has not received any of that $11,000, the library has not received any of that 11,000 that's been collected at 500 or above. is the total I'm getting. Right?
What's the total that's been received?
We have received, I think, for collections, roughly $5,000, and then they also gave us some funds for the technology to set up the computers. I would say probably close to $10,000 is what we've received so far. I can get you that exact number.
Yeah, it looks like $12,000 of the amount, what, 500, and above at this moment, it could be more now. I know, I saw when Linda Blair unfortunately passed away that in her obituary said donations to save the Western Florida Library, so.
Right, and
There
I,
may be more, it may be a really big cost.
yeah. I don't think that we know exactly how much money people have donated to Save the Western Port Library because they kind of maintain, of course, their own finances. But as far as what Save the Western Port Library has given to the library to use for Western Port, I think we're close to $10,000 at this point.
My question is, what's the harm? What's the harm? It's a plaque.
I know you're talking about more than just a plaque. It could mean,
Well, it's still a plaque, no matter how big it is, it's still a plaque, right?
Is there a way you could limit the size and just use
Yeah, that's-
small, like one plaque, you might have like
Yeah.
40 or 50 on there?
So maybe that would be the question is if we wanna specify the size. Which I could see that would probably be a good idea because the space isn't huge anyhow. I don't know. If we deny it, there will be some repercussions. That's my only thought. That's why I'm asking the question, what's the harm?
it is, at first, when I first read it, I thought, is this a plaque for every person that donates? Not just like a plaque with a
Nameplate.
nameplate. Especially when it says all donors 500 and above will be acknowledged on a plaque that'll be presented. So I kept thinking in my head, where are we gonna have room for all these acts?
Right.
When you hear what other people read, a plaque with nameplates on it, I can see.
That's what I thought it was.
I just. If the money, if it's hanging on the wall, it looks like the money has been donated to the library from the Save the Libraries. And maybe after it's all said and done, but that's the part that's sort of against, I'm on the fence, that I think a display once a year that, it's like Children's Literature Center, for example, once a year, the posters go up, you see who the donors are, it's a once a year thing, but those posters probably are put in a closet.
Well, we're not allowed to do that now.
You're not even allowed to put them up.
We're not allowed, no, because they have regulations in the building, you can't do that. So
I mean, during the
the
festival,
festival, but that's all digital. It's all digital now.
okay, I was picturing that they went up
We
once
used to
a
have
year, so
donor boards,
you were
but
kind of thanking
Yeah.
people on the donor board once a year. You could have a display once a year and say, here's what we've done for the library this year, what we've done for the library next year, but the fact that, in a way, we're competing with them for donations.
And two, we also go back to our gift donation and naming rights policy. Does it conflict with what's in that policy and their policy for donations to their organization?
That's my hang up is
No, I think we'll be very
ACLS is
grateful.
not currently in receipt of the, by last count, around $16,000, $14,000. That's noted in this list of what's been pledged or collected. By that standard, every friends group could come in and ask for a plaque at South Cumberland, at Washington Street, with a list of people who donated to the Friends group. But ACLS does not hold those dollars. Those dollars are there for them to disseminate to each branch as they see fit.
Yes.
And it technically goes against the policy that we have in place. I'm not saying that what's the harm? There is not, but I think if we were to move forward on this, the policy needs to be updated to state clearly something along the lines of this situation, so that it avoids that going forward. And
Because if we do this now, this will set
right,
precedents.
and I think
Yes, and then-
STWL needs to be made aware that we have a policy and that these kinds of things that they are promising to groups on behalf of the library system are going against library system policies.
There is currently a shelf, like a collection from the Save Westernport Library, correct?
Yes.
Is that a temporary? Like, is that a temporary display, or is that a permanent collection that will be shelved
I think that,
separately?
whenever I approached Kathy about doing a display, now that the books were starting to come in at long last, she designated a shelf and created a sign to identify that those materials were purchased by Save the Western Port Library. And she took some photographs and I sent those to the Save the Western Port Library group so that they could see them, and they seemed very pleased that that display existed, and there was some recognition there that the books that were available on that shelf they had donated. I think that, Kathy has intention so that as additional books come in that were ordered under the Save the Western Port Library gift funds, that they will continue to go on that shelf so that people can, see what the funds were used for and check those items out. And of course, there's book plates in the front of each collection item that's donated to that states, that the materials were donated by the Save the Western Port Library group. So I do see that as a way that the library is currently recognizing the activities of the Save the Western Port Library group.
It's just like thinking if they already have a plaque, maybe we could just stand it on top of that collection and not hang it on the wall as like a part of the temporary.
That's what I was saying, something, a display
recognition
once a
for
year
now.
of
It's like a compliment, maybe, but.
whatever,
That's just.
Because that's something we physically have that was a contribution from those
Correct,
dollars.
right.
That's where my hang up
Yes.
is that we
Right,
don't have this money.
right.
And we've not been able to purchase anything with these dollars.
So rather, or if I'm understanding correctly, were you proposing that rather than this being a donor wall kind of plaque with each individual's names on the different little
Nameplates.
little nameplates, thank you. I couldn't think of
You're
the
welcome,
word.
because I had the same problem. That's why I was up.
That instead there could be a plaque that they create that goes with our display of books that states in a kind of, instead of like a homemade sign and an acrylic
Right.
holder, it would be a fancier sign
Right.
that states
And
that those were
you could
donated.
even plaque with nameplates and like put it on a stand, right? Like, if they want it,
I
whatever they
really
would
see
be
it both
open
ways
to.
because I see what Julie's saying and Renee. But then the other hand, like a lot of these donors donate this money because they want their business recognized.
Mm.
And you may find some competitive businesses that'll match these numbers, although we're not getting it, it's still in their area there. And I get, it's just a two-sided sword right now, but we just don't want it to backfire in either direction.
No, and I don't either. I just think that something was promised that.
Right, I understand, yeah, because we're not, we don't have the money. in hand.
Yeah.
Permission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And two, it's not our policy when we have a policy. So
Yeah, and I think that if we were going to make any sort of changes to the current policy, we would definitely want to update and be specific about how this was going to work, because as we enter into this new era with library ambassadors, we're really gonna have to understand what the wishes of the board is in these kind of naming and gifting donation matters. So I think that I would have a question about the maintenance of the plaque with the donor plates, because as additional gifts come in that are $500, I would imagine that there would have to be some process where the additional ones were attached to the flag.
Right.
They usually have two-sided tape. They're pretty easy to adjust.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
It's very simple now. And who would pay for the plaque? Would they be paid for the plaque?
I think maintenance would be up to them, yeah.
I think that they were going to pay for the flag.
Yeah.
Yes.
And all of this was decided by the group before we made a major effort to kind of delineate the lines between the library system and the group, because I've noticed, on all of their information, now they're clearly stating that they do not represent the library, that they are an independent group. You know, they're really making a point to try to do this, and this came before, so, I mean, I think we should be cooperative, but
Can we
Need to
table
think it
this
out.
until we redo our policy to include this?
Yes.
I think that my suggestion would be to get a committee together to look at the policy and go over the policy to have it reflect requests like this from any group.
I guess technically in the acknowledgement of donation section, it does state that for gifts or donations valued at over $500, acknowledgement of sponsorship may take the following forms at the library's discretion. Sponsor's name on promotional materials, small standardized plaque may be placed on donated furniture, equipment, library book plate. So I guess, I mean, it falls within the scope of this, but again, the hangup is
We
don't have the
haven't
money.
received,
Right.
the money's not donated
So,
directly.
It just kind of, it doesn't fit within that policy, and I don't want to get into where we're making it okay for this one, and then we have another one, and that's.
yeah, it would be nice if the plaque said, and I'm just making this up as I go along, the Allegheny County Library System thanks the Save the Westernport Library group for donating $50,000 or whatever the number is, that we're thanking them versus, and then maybe then they can thank their constituents. I don't know. There's a lot to think about.
If I may,
Yeah,
sorry, I just
please.
wanted to provide some clarity. The disclaimer, I think that you've seen.
Yes,
Deb, they were asked to start including that at the end of March. And this post was from April 18th, so it is after we've asked them to separate a little bit, so just wanted to give
okay, I
that
didn't realize it was
context.
that far, that it was that far back. You mean March a year ago then?
Yes,
I hadn't seen it as early as March, but
it's
I
been a
don't go to
mixed
the
bag
site.
when they've included it, when they haven't.
yeah, I don't go to the site unless it pops up.
But they
It's
didn't
just
ask
that I
us
don't
until December 12th.
That is the first that I heard of it, and I went through past emails and just to see if I could find where this discussion had taken place prior to this actually being posted on their Facebook page. I asked the administrative team, did this sound familiar to them? Do they remember any discussions about this having taken place, so that in so many words, that Save the Westport Library group cleared this with the library before putting this in their Facebook post, and there was no one with any recollection of having had that conversation. So when this came to me in December, prior to that, I don't think any of us really understood that that had been the way that it had been handled.
Had this been discussed with Kathy?
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, I looked up the word plaque in my email and I did not see anything in a million emails that we had discussed anything here.
All right, so where were we, like, the last note I had is that Renee was suggesting the possibility of a committee to go over the current policy so that it reflects requests like this, so we have it very clear and we all understand how these types of things would be handled. Where would we like to go next with this?
I think that's important for the ambassadors program moving forward, to have a clear policy.
Yeah, and to
And the-
include that in this.
My suggestion is that someone talk to the Western Port, say the library people, and explain what's going on. Instead of just saying, we've tabled it or whatever. I think that's not a good idea. I think they need to be in the loop. If they were here today, they would be in the loop, but they're not.
Right.
And that's my suggestion.
Would you like me in those conversations to talk about the possibility of it being more of a general plaque versus the plaque with the individual donor plates on it?
I don't
or-
know, that would be in the dialogue in my mind. Because they're thinking about what they want.
Mhm.
So I would suspect they're gonna say, this is what we're thinking. And it would be good for me at least to know what they're thinking. Because when I look at it, I think Debbie's right, I'm looking at a board with this little by levels, and it would not be that big. But that doesn't say it couldn't be as big as that whiteboard.
Mhm. So maybe a mock-up, or a drawing of,
I
just
think
to sort
that
of give
would
us the
help
concept
for
of
me.
what they're thinking of,
Yeah.
and what it would look like and the size of it and all of that sort of thing.
Yeah, and the cost would be
Clarification.
obviously something important to them too, I think.
Like who's purchasing it and further maintaining, adding additional names and all of that.
I do think it's important that we update this policy so that the ambassadors program, that we're not backtracking,
Mhm.
looking at what we're doing, moving forward.
Yeah.
We might have more occasions to have, sponsorships and people who want to be identified.
And I just don't wanna see, I'm, what Joy said. I don't want the appearance to be, yes, Carl Belt and all these people donated, but. You know, has the library received the money? I mean, I don't know how you could put that on a plaque, but I think that we really need to.
Deb, your
We can't
plaque's
just-
really getting worded.
I don't want the flag to misrepresent either them or us.
Or the donors.
So maybe the plaque must reflect funds given to the library,
Received by the.
received by the library.
I think that would be very fair. In the 66 main library, there were various community memorabilia. In the meeting room, it would be and I think there actually was a plaque for Okie Michael, or at least it was behind the circulation desk. I feel like that was safe from the floods. There are probably already things ready to hang back up, perhaps. It's the design of the library, wherever, depending on how things go.
All right, so if, I can recap then. One of the things that, has been requested is that I will get in touch with, say, the Western Port Library so that we have an accurate idea of the size and the concept of what they have in mind. And we would also request from them information about the maintenance of the plaque. I would also talk to them about the requirement that the plaque must reflect funds that have actually been received by the library, so that only folks who are $500 or more who have donated to save the Western Port Library, whose funds the Western Port Library has actually received, would be on the plaque. And then following this exchange of information, I would bring this to you, and we may have a committee who would then use this information to go over our naming and donor policy to see what we need to do to that policy to make sure it incorporates these new ideas. Is that an accurate representation? Okay. Alrighty.
We need a motion for that. Let's make a motion
Maybe.
for that. I don't know. Well, it's just just to be safe, do we have a motion for whatever?
It's recorded.
Yes, hallelujah. Lisa just stated, the communication with say the Westernport Library, then bringing it back to have a committee look at, reviewing and making the gift and donor and naming policies clear and concise
I moved
to
to,
include the ambassadors.
I moved to authorize Lisa to do all of that and more.
Is there a second?
That's good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Okay. Updated laws of Maryland related to public libraries in the 2025 edition.
Yes, so this is just, in your folders, you have a brand new red 2025 edition of the library laws, so, that is for you to keep. I have requested if a bridge document could be provided so that we understand between the previous version and this version, what has changed. So, if I do receive that, I'll pass that along to you so that we know what has changed in this new version, but this is for you to keep. And, I have ordered 5 additional copies that I'll be giving to the library administrators as well.
Lisa, there may be online, sometimes if you look up, annotated code, it'll tell you what's been changed.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes,
Okay.
I'm not sure, and I'm not exactly sure how to find it, but that might be an option.
It's definitely
Definitely
online,
expect
so
to
that is a
report
good
on this
idea.
walk-up.
Yeah, we know Deb's gonna go home and read it
That's right.
cover to cover.
That, no, I'm only gonna read the library section. Except if it is wrong.
You do the
Do you
last
think
one
you can
inside
do a
out.
compare, no, I'm only kidding.
No, I thought you're probably right. Because we did see it online, because I was looking online because mine had floated away, obviously, and in the flood, I was in my
Literally.
car. You should never carry your whole life around in your car, but, so I was using the online version, and maybe they do have something in italics about what
Yeah, sometimes they do. That may
one
be
had been.
I remember getting printouts from a couple years ago that had been revised, like I have a whole additions and revisions in that binder.
Okay.
Okay. Project update to the Board of Trustees handbook and bylaws.
So everyone has a yellow folder in front of them, and in that folder, well, let me preface this by saying that the current trustees handbook is pretty outdated. And rather than kind of making copies of it and sharing that with you, I thought that it might be more productive to take a fresh look at it. So in your yellow folder, I've provided first of all, the Maryland Association of Public Library Administrators Trustees Guide from 2019. This comes from the state that provides the rules and responsibilities for library trustees. But in addition to that, I've also provided a printout of the bylaws of the Board of Trustees for Allegheny County Library, which have not been updated since 2007.
They really need to be.
So we need
I
to
looked at it.
update that.
Oh,
That's right, the meeting's on the second Wednesday, according to these
Right,
files.
and it also talks about some officers that we aren't currently using, including a vice president role. So in thinking about this,
Yeah, 1 year.
yes, yes.
How many years has it been?
Been a few. So in thinking about this, I had a meeting months ago with the state librarian, and I mentioned this to her that, we really need to update this, and she recommended someone who had done this very recently, who she felt she would recommend as a good model to look at, was the Southern Maryland Regional Library Association. So in your packets, there is a copy of their bylaws. And then there's also a copy of their Board of Trustees guide. And so what I was hoping we could do is establish potentially a subcommittee of the board to work on updating, to make sure that we have a accurate board manual. And I was thinking about things like the work that was done over the summer to create the new rubrics for selection of board members and making sure that that's all documented and included in this as well. So, I was thinking that was an approach that we could possibly take is establishing a subcommittee and, have this, be a focus area where we work on updating our bylaws and we get a new, trustees manual together. So, that's sort of what I am proposing this evening.
Do we have any volunteers to be on that committee?
There's gonna be more.
I know.
than you.
We all are like.
I know, but what-
Yeah. I'm always that person that goes, can't say no, I really wanna do it.
Actually, like, really.
Yeah, this one looks like it's a great document that maybe we wouldn't have to do too much to it to make it our own.
It's always helpful to have a good model to look at to see if, if you could just change a few things around. I know that the SMRLA, which is the acronym, was based very strongly on the statewide guide. So you'll see a lot of the things that are in there, in their version of the trustees guide are lifted from the statewide guide. So I do think there's a potential that we don't necessarily need to reinvent the wheel in its entirety. We can kind of look at this and adapt it to fit what we want for Allegheny County. So,
I didn't get it, like, look through it in depth, part of the one that you gave us, the example of, like, is Garrett County the same number of trustees? Is this
Yes.
one the same? Okay,
Yes,
so across the
that
state
is-
it's seven.
that's the
All right,
state.
I
That's
think
where
that's the standard.
my question would have been, like, could just copy and paste, most of it probably, if that's that, so.
Yeah.
And the subcommittee work virtually.
Yes,
Because that would be
yes, I think,
much easier.
yes. A Google Doc that can be shared and.
Can we get this
Or is it online
digitally and
meeting?
just save a lot of typing?
Yes, I could put these files in, like a Google Drive folder, and then you could make a duplicate copy of it and then change whatever you like.
We have one.
Yeah. I can't make it because Maryland, my email address, you can only be in maryland.gov email,
Okay.
so someone else, so Molly had
You
to.
can add it to the one that already exists if you send it to them.
Okay, will do.
Our email address is provided with great deal.
Even if we all read
Right.
this
For
and
this-
send comments and then one person could kind of put it all together and in red so that we could check it one more time and so on and so forth. They took the 2019 and now this is 2025. It's probably very, very good. We just need to change a little bit, like, Allegheny County Library System and various things that maybe is specific to here.
Right. All right, so do we have a subcommittee or is everybody gonna?
Most of us, because-
Raise your hand if you wanna be on the committee.
I'll be on it, but I got 2 observations this spring, so.
There you
I
go.
lead.
Deb will have 4 million emails for us back and forth.
That's right, I will.
Very detailed.
I'm a detailed person, beats the alternative.
All right, and then, if it's okay with you, I think that it would be great if I would put myself and Ashley on the subcommittee as well.
Give us a deadline.
I
please.
was just.
Well, what do you think is reasonable? We'll have, we're kind of getting into busy season as far as the
I think if
budget
we have a
deliberations are
draft by
concerned.
March,
I was thinking
Maybe,
June.
we're in March, 2 months.
Yeah.
I think that's,
Reasonable.
yeah,
So, a draft for us to review it by the March
yeah.
meeting.
I mean, it's not.
It's not, but it's no, there is. no
I'm at
first
the
one.
date.
In my mind,
They
There's
did a
nothing
very
good.
nice job.
That's fine.
And it's
Thank you.
nice that they work together to do it.
Okay. Budget and financial report, November and December.
All right, so I've kind of combined them together in my report in the interest of time. The total income for fines and fees, copier and printing income was $31,5775 for November and December. Gifts and memorials income, we received over $25,000 in gifts and memorials in November and December. There was just under $6,000 from Ashley's year-end giving fundraiser campaign. The article in the New York Times that included a link to our Westernport flood recovery fundraiser resulted in $2,790 donations. Friends of LaVale Library donated $975 for meal kits and movie license for public performance rights. We know at our last meeting, the Friends of Georges Creek Library gave us a check for $4,380 to cover the cost of the fence repair, which, by the way, is in progress. The supplies are in hand. It's a matter of just having installation. I think they were dealing with holidays and illness within their company, but it is in progress. Allegheny County Local Development Council sent us a check for $7,000. And William Romine donated $4,500 for books in memory of Georgie Wolford. And this is the 4th year in a row that Mr. Romine has donated to the library for books. So that's very appreciated. On the expenses side, in prizes and incentives 60010, we purchased a $10 gift card for each staff member as a holiday gift for a total of $320. And 60500, the Friends groups, the Friends of Washington Street, South Cumberland, and Westernport Library donated towards our November meal kits program. And the Friends of Westernport Library also paid for a colorful new rug for the children's room for $94.96. In 61004 elevator, we paid $8,130.02 for our annual elevator maintenance contracts for Washington Street Library and Frostburg Library. In 61502 trainings and meetings, we paid $377.16 for Ashley and I to attend PACE in Annapolis to advocate for our library system. Good old heating and cooling, 62004, our HVAC woes continued at Washington Street. We spent $5,301 to replace a hot water coil in the attic system in November. Down to gifts and memorials expenses in collections, we spent $3,390, and that includes purchases from gifts from the Logston Estate, the Rural Collection Development Grant, AAUW, the Bell High School Class of 1972, Flintstone Elementary, Joan Ralston Estate, Lions Center, and William Romine. In programming, we spent $1,184, which includes $500 from Friends of the LaVale Library for the meal kits and supplies for a watercolor painting program at LaVale. Gift cards for winners of the Westernport Surveys drawing that we created as incentives for participation, and supplies from Logston for Frostburg for Library of Things. In facilities, we spent $8,842, which includes expenses to pay for a mini split installation at Frostburg Library, as well as numerous purchases for Westernport Library for November, which included the solar lights to light up the outside of the building, a microwave for staff break room, and equipment to set up the public access computer, a CPU, monitor, power strip, as well as a printer, scanner, photocopier, and toner. So those are the highlights for November and December for the financial activity.
We have a motion to approve.
I so moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. FY 20, let me ask a question. Do we have the, Morton's come to look at the HVAC?
That was this morning.
That was just it.
Yes. So I think that we had a good conversation with them, mapping out the plans as far as thinking about some of the pain points in the building and trying to correct some of them. So I kind of left the meeting with, a good impression that they had some ideas that they were going to draft for us with, by the end of this month, they're going to have some kind of ballpark costs for us for what the entire project would cost. And then the other thing that we were exploring was the possibility of chunking it into phases so that maybe economically and also with their schedules and being able to do the work, if they could parse it into, instead of doing everything all at once, could they parse it into more manageable steps so that we could kind of handle it that way. So we will know more by the end of this month as far as what costs we're kind of looking at there. But we talked about things like for example, the office that Ashley and Renee work in, there's only air conditioning in there, there's no heat.
Yeah, that's good.
So we would like to correct that. We talked about there's one thermostat that controls the entire second floor that's located in an office so that it kind of doesn't have a good representation of what the environment is like in the entire floor. It's really kind of focused just on that one office. So we talked about moving that into the hallway instead, so
So
that.
the one person who's in the office, if they're hot all the time, they freeze everyone out.
Yeah, and also so the thermostat is accessible, so it's not in someone's office, so you feel kind of weird about going in there, and fiddling with it, so. Things like that, and then also exploring, the kind of heat that we have on the mezzanine. And the possibility of installation of ceiling fans, so that as the heat always rises and it's 90 degrees up on the mezzanine, can we install some ceiling fans to kind of push that air back down, and both alleviate the heating that you experience on the mezzanine, but then also be more efficient as far as making sure that that heat is distributed better in the building. So along with that, I had a meeting, or actually a training this morning to start looking into possible routes with CDBG for grants to apply for to be able to pay for the project once we understand, what it's gonna cost. So I
And
think
that's only for Washington Street or South Cumberland.
correct.
Has to be within the city of Cumberland.
Yes. Yes. So yes, all that is in the works.
Okay, sorry, FY 27 budget preliminary budget draft.
Yes, so in your packets, you have 3 documents. The first document is notes related to the budget. The second one is the summary sheet, and then the third is the more detailed budget. So I thought the summary document might be helpful as far as something that you can take a look at later as you're reading the budget in more detail. Starting first on the income side of things for revenue, in this early draft, the revenue for state of Maryland and Allegheny County remains the same as the previous year until we hear otherwise. We're kind of early at this point to understand if we're going to be seeing increases or decreases in our revenue. For now, we're staying with what we had in fiscal year 26 in this budget. 41,000 grant income increases slightly by $1,796. That includes additional grant funds provided by Western Maryland Regional Library for delivery costs. I renamed 42,000 fines and fees to patron fees. Following fine-free legislation from the state of Maryland affecting the majority of patron types and materials, the library is collecting only about $275 a month system-wide for fines. Allegheny County Library System can follow our partners, Ruth Enloe Library of Garrett County and Washington County Free Library, to go fine-free for patrons in fiscal year 27 with no material consequences to the budget. All other public libraries in the state of Maryland are now fine-free due to these same realities. The fiscal year 27 budget continues to budget for over $12,000 for replacement costs, which are charges patrons pay for the full retail cost of the item when they lose or damage library materials. So, I'm asking you to think about that. Again, $275 a month is, peanuts. So we could definitely go fine free. It will make things better as far as having a shared system with the Garrett County libraries and the Washington County libraries. The experience of patrons will be more consistent. I think it will make things easier for our staff to manage the situation. And it's just there's a lot for very little return. So I think it's okay, and I think it's time for us to go fine free.
You don't wanna do replacement cost?
We will still do the
Okay.
replacement costs. It would just be the kind of like the 10 cents a day stuff. Yeah.
We don't do that anymore.
In 43,000 and 44,000 copier and printing, those remain essentially the same with a slight reduction for copier and a slight increase for printing. So that's a net increase of $350 in income. That's following the trends from recent activity. In 45,000 gifts and memorials, it's being increased from 69,000 to 92,000 to reflect the active pursuit of grants and donations through grant application processes and targeted fundraising through the new Library Ambassadors Program. An increase of $23,000 is budgeted in this area. This figure is both realistic and achievable, as we have so far received just under $87,000 in gifts and memorials income between July and December, so just in the first half of this year. 46,000 interest is being increased by $14,300 as interest income is trending higher. At the halfway point of the current fiscal year, the library has earned over $20,000 in interest income to date by leaving income in interest-bearing accounts and then transferring the funds when necessary to our checking account. So we're taking advantage of that. And if you recall, in fiscal year 27, what we would be doing is transferring the interest that we have earned in fiscal year 26. So that is a firm figure that we can count on. We're not sort of just projecting. We know that we're going to be in good shape to transfer this amount of interest from those accounts to use in the upcoming fiscal year. So those are solid numbers. 47,500 transfers is the same as the current fiscal year. Transfers from special accounts for restricted purchases of collections and facility needs for the Frostburg Library from Logston and Cruson would again be used for the purposes for which they are given. 47,500, I think I got the numbering wrong on that. That should be, it should have been 46,500 for transfers. That was a typo. 47,500 insurance reimbursements is reduced for accuracy to follow financial activity trends by $1,241 less in fiscal year 27 than in fiscal year 26. So we really don't get too many insurance reimbursements. So the total income increases over the previous fiscal year by $34,905.10 in this early draft. Over on the expenses side, 60,000 supplies decreases spending slightly by $1,800. 61,000 contracted services reflects a change in the way that the Wormel Service Enhancement Grant is used. Rather than using this $50,000 for wages and contract employees, which has been the trend over the years, we will instead use these funds to pay contracted cleaning expenses. If anything unforeseen would happen and this grant would no longer be provided to us from the Western Maryland Regional Library, I would much rather figure out an alternative way to clean our buildings than have our part-time staff positions adversely affected. 61,500 training membership and sponsors reduces spending by $2,000. 62,000 and 63,000 facilities repairs and facilities new. So far, a net difference of $584 increase in spending. This is an area of focus and need, but I am optimistic that the Library Ambassadors fundraising will assist us in paying for expenses for our facilities rather than using operating funds. 64,000 utilities. This early projection of the budget sets utility costs at $96,750 for the year following current trends in spending. 65,000 vehicles, following again current year spending trends. The budget for vehicles is set at $7,500 for the year, with the majority of spending focused on the delivery van, which receives the most use. The Gold van was sold in January of 2025, reducing our fleet by one vehicle. So the reduction in budgeting year over year also factors in this change. And 66,000 wages and benefits. Overall, the budget reflects a $20,000 reduction in spending over the previous year. Within this budget, there is changes within exempt, non-exempt, and contract positions, which are in anticipation of changes to the organization chart, roles and responsibilities, providing resources to new priorities, and filling identified gaps within the operation. Increases to staff wages is included. Health insurance has been maintained at fiscal year 26 levels, although preliminary calculations show that amount might be more than we need. We might not need $311,000 for health insurance. In anticipation of potential increases to health insurance costs, however, for our employees, the savings from changes in staffing are being kept in place for now so that we have a buffer to work with when we do know more about what the fiscal year 27 costs from the county are. An anticipated increase for the Paid Family and Medical Leave Act, or Time to Care Act, in the amount of $6,000 in anticipation of the 0.45% contribution the library will need to begin making starting January of 2027 to this new program. Details about the Paid Family and Medical Leave Act, I provided the link if you would like to kind of read a little bit more about that, but they pushed this back already once.
Also, I'm very familiar with it.
Yeah. So I put it in there, you know, who knows if they're going to push back again or not. But the way that I read the documentation is that contributions are supposed to start in January of 2027, and then people can start to use those benefits in 2028. So we needed to, you know, halfway through the year, we needed to kind of factor in, we would be starting to make contributions from the library's budget, and then there would be 0.45% of each employee's wages that would also need to go towards the contribution starting in January. So I guess once we get confirmation on that, you know, we'll know more about it. So we kind of plugged it in the budget, so we've got that accounted for. 60
question.
Yeah.
Back up on utilities.
Mm-hmm.
Is that FY 26 based on an actual or what was budgeted? Like what's been?
That is based on budgeted. So whenever I was looking at setting the amounts for a lot of these things, I was looking more at actual. Like I went into QuickBooks and sort of ran reports about, you know, what was the previous year. And when we look at like the first half of this current fiscal year, what did it look like? So then I kind of made an educated guess on what I think is actually more accurate. Insurance, 67,000, increases by $7,600 total. Included in fiscal year 27 is 67,005, a new account for liability insurance. This was added in our current fiscal year to cover the library with directors and officers insurance.
And that's necessary to bond the treasurer.
Yes.
We did not have any bonding
No.
prior to that.
No. So we did not have this
And that's
budget before this.
State requirement.
Mhm. Additionally, the budget includes increases in facility insurance and disability insurance rates that came our way this year. Other insurance types remain at previous year levels. To be clear, the flood insurance is left in here with using the same amount that we paid in our current fiscal year for the upcoming fiscal year until we hear otherwise. So we will have a decision to make about that. I suspect we'll probably be able to send that along to you probably at some point this month. And at that point, you will have to kind of think about what you want to do as far as insuring the property at 66, given the circumstances that we're under. I am asking Greg Smith from CBIZ advice about, if we do get this flood insurance, what if we didn't pay this year until, that property would get back on us? What if we didn't pay until that property was viable again? What would the risk of doing that be? Would we be in danger of not being able to reacquire the insurance through them, or what were we looking at? So I'm kind of, looking at things from a lot of different angles and trying to gather information in the meantime. So, but at this point in this budget, it's stayed pat as far as what we paid in the current fiscal year. I put that number in for flood insurance for fiscal year 27. In the service charges and fees, 67,500, I reduced that for accuracy to follow financial activities trends by $800 less in the upcoming year. 68,000 collections, no changes from the previous year as far as operating funding is concerned. There are some variations in spending across categories, plus or minus. So, for example, what I mean by that is like adult fiction versus adult nonfiction versus young adult books. We may have some, but the overall amount spent for collections remains the same. The effort to fundraise through grants and donors, as well as library ambassador program projects, is anticipated to enable the library shelves to meet the demand of the public. And again, I would remind you back that in the transfers category for Frostburg, we had that Loxton and Cruson money that are being transferred that will, so all of their collections will be paid 100% from those special accounts rather than coming from operating. And that is, that's what happened this year as well. And then, of course, 69,000 grant expenses is equal to grant income. So the amount of income we get for grants is going to match the amount of expenses we have for grants. And really the major change there again is, rather than using service enhancement for contract employee wages, instead we're using that for cleaning. And we're actually budgeting from our operating for the contract wages, so that we've got that not being dependent on a grant. So
That's good.
So this is the first version of our budget. And of course, in the weeks to come, we're going to learn a lot more as far as, what the revenue from the state is going to look like. I did check with the county to say that I'm starting from a flat funding point of view with our budget. And did they have any prognostications for us as far as what might be ahead? And the response I received was, starting at a flat funding point is probably a good place to be right now, because they don't know yet either what's going to happen as far as funding is concerned. So, at the end of the day with this budget, we're a little bit to the good. We've got some room to maneuver if we do have a cut that comes our way. This budget factors that in. So, it's early, but this kind of gives you some things to look at and think about and provide feedback in the meantime.
When will we be able to look at a new, like, roles and responsibilities and the, because I see that it says like the $20,000 reduction, for the wages and
I had a good meeting with Lexi yesterday, and we are working on getting some plans together as far as updating job descriptions, planning, some interview processes with the rest of the administrative team. What I had said was I was looking to get through this evening's meeting to present the preliminary budget. And then I want to sit down and talk with them about hours of operation I have different ideas about some responsibility, some things around additional help where help is needed. And so some of this is, the budget I have mapped out my thinking about, where I think that things should head. And so the next step on that chain is to bring this team in so that we can all discuss those ideas and I can hear their feedback about what they think, what their insights are as far as the directions I'm thinking about taking things. So, I think that by the time we meet next month for the board meeting, I will have more concrete, information for you to look at as far as, the reorganization is concerned. I'm really looking towards putting some of these steps into place as soon as possible because I'm still essentially doing my old job and my new job. So I kind of need that, some of those things to be sort of parsed out. And it's like, I keep saying it's like everything's related to everything. So that you start to think about these changes. Well, in order to do those changes, we need to kind of figure this out. I think when Lexi and I met yesterday, we were kind of taking all kinds of notes and creating some game plans to work on together. So, and then we will be having meetings with all these folks too.
And I think moving into our new budget year, having that reorganization, that chart, organizational chart will be very helpful.
Yes. So we're getting there. We're making good progress, I think.
Is there, the reserve account that we have?
Mhm.
How is that money, is that just in a savings account? How is that?
It's a Maryland local government investment pool account, and so the interest on it is pretty good. The reserve account, up until this current year, every time we got paid by the state of Maryland, which is 6 times a year, we would take 2,000 of that and put it in reserves. So since we started doing that, I would say we probably have a good 20 some to 30 some $1,000s in there from doing that. The thing that I've thought about with reserves is, as these HVAC things keep blowing up, like there's one at Jason's office that the bearing's going out of, and we need to kind of move on that now. So I was actually thinking about once we get the quote of what that's gonna cost, that reserves might be a good target for us to pay that bill from. So, I don't know if that answers your question or not, but
Is there an option to take some of that and put it into like a CD to earn a little more interest?
I don't know. I think the interest that we get from MLGIP is pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's pretty good, pretty competitive, I think, to what we would get. And the nice thing about it is, we already have a good system as far as, being able to tap into that when we need to.
That's the concern with the CD.
Yeah.
I think ideally you do it longer than the 9 months. If you're thinking about using the funds, that makes it a.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Marketing and outreach.
No. Do you mind if I put it on?
Whoever's most comfortable.
Yep. All right, Lenny was kind enough to set the mic up, so, you all could hear me in my muffled voice. Starting with the November, December 2025 statistics reports, I really condensed it and I'm just gonna hit the highlights because you all are going to get a lot of numbers thrown at you in the next few minutes. So, in your folder, Sarah, there's again the November and December statistics reports. Most metrics saw a decline compared to last year. this is expected due to reduced hours and space, essentially with the Western Port Library not being able to offer their full services, the big programs, the story times. And additionally, we usually see usage dip around the holidays, so not atypical to see some down arrows in the November, December. Programs, attendance received a boost from our seasonal offerings such as Kind Christmas and Storybook Holiday. Overall visitor numbers have remained steady. December showed a slight decline, which aligns again with holiday schedules and weather-related factors. The door count, I did make a note that, last year, there were some concerns that, our estimates, because we, take a door count, twice a month, 2 weeks out of the month, we count everybody coming in the door. And sometimes those miss some big events or, there's a snow closing or something like that. But, I'm happy to, report, back, I believe it was last February, whenever the door counters went in at Georges Creek and Western Port. Unfortunately, we don't have the Western Port numbers, but, the Georges Creek estimates, comparing side by side, the estimate, which is what we used in the, official report, was actually 8.4% higher than the machine count. So, we were happy to see it's still, within the range, we're still getting a good estimate. And typically we do like to, be on that positive side of the estimate that, we're, giving a little bit of a boost when we can. So, so that kind of hits those highlights. At the end of the, December packet there, I did pull out some of the Western Port, Library 121 Main statistics, looked at circulation, total estimated visitors and unique visitors. And in November, Western Port, the temporary location had 60 people, unique people come into the branch. So one person can visit the library 5 times, and that counts as 5 estimated visits, but just one person essentially. So unique visitors, they had 60 in November and 41 in December. But circulation did increase from November to December. So despite having lower foot traffic, circulation increased. So I believe Lisa mentioned that, I'm sorry, I didn't print it out for myself, but I also ran the statistics for the pop-up libraries in Western Port. So I believe that is in all things. Your folders as well. So there you can see the attendance on each date starting in August going through October in each event that we had. And then the second sheet there actually shows the checkouts. And I did a much longer time period there because the few little tiny purple columns that you see back in 2021 were the pop-up libraries that we held during COVID. So I wanted to show like the pop-up in Western Port, and the success it had versus the pop-ups that we did during COVID. It was much slower. The locations were varied. So I like to see that comparison that those pop-ups in Western Port were very successful. So that's kind of the highlights of the November, December statistics. I guess we need a motion to accept.
Motion to approve statistics for November and December of 2025. So moved. Second?
Aye.
All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Public library survey data, 20 years.
Actually 24 years. When we can. So this is the packet of reports. It's not formatted, it's just your plain, pretty much raw data reports. A nice large packet in there. I added a last report So there's a single sheet in there too that goes with this, section. So anybody jump in anytime with questions. I did not, I'm not gonna go through every single report, and hit every single number, but, like, again, I tried to grab the highlights. What's that? Oh, do they,
know
they don't have the big report?
I think I only have the one.
Oh, okay.
This one is salary. Yeah, that's the only thing that.
Gotcha.
Oh, here it is.
Should we do this next meeting?
We could do that next meeting.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, this is just phone sheet.
Okay. We'll do the big, we'll do it the next meeting then. So we'll break it up. There won't be so many numbers at once.
Okay.
Maybe I'll be able to speak better than two.
Western Port Community Survey Date Report.
Okay, I know you have this, but I didn't bring these and they stick out. So, it's the big, infographic in your folder there. This will go public tomorrow. I will, send out press release with a summary of the results. So excited. The Western Port Community Survey gathered 74 unique respondents, 76 total. This includes 30 responses that we got at the Western Port Library Town Hall meeting that we held on October 22nd. We distributed a shorter version of the survey in person, and we received 30 of those back. So that 74 responses or respondents includes those 30. The respondents skewed older, with 44% ages 55 and up, but 22% of the households that responded included children under 18. So we did get engagement from both seniors and families. What we heard most clearly in the survey, across responses, there was a strong, consistent support for maintaining the Western Port Library as a core community resource, with emphasis on restoring and expanding basic in-branch library services, improving access to technology and the internet, providing safe spaces for youth and families, serving as a community hub and meeting space, offering educational programming and lifelong learning opportunities, and partnering with local organizations to extend reach and relevance. Respondents repeatedly emphasized the importance of the library as an accessible and essential service rather than a specialized or limited use facility. Feedback highlighted several practical barriers to use, including limited or inconvenient hours of operation, transportation challenges, and awareness gaps around services and programs. Preferred visiting times clustered around late afternoon and early evening between 4 and 7 p.m., with Saturdays emerging as the most convenient day overall. These preferences align with comments calling for greater flexibility and consistency in availability. Now, what we found that the community valued most was that they expressed strong interest in traditional in-branch services and the library of things. And there was notably less interest in 24/7 lockers and home delivery service. Again, suggesting that the community values physical library space and staff services over remote or automated options. Now I'll talk a little bit about how we got the word out about the survey in the town hall and the engagement that we saw from them. Sorry, take a little break. Have to remember to breathe. The surveys were made available in multiple formats, written or paper, online, and by phone to ensure participation from residents with varying levels of internet access and comfort with technology. To maximize awareness and accessibility, the library implemented a multiple channel outreach campaign. We took surveys and flyers to the local town halls, businesses, and churches. We sent a direct mailer to over 2,500 households in the Western Port Library service area. It was in the Western Port Elementary newsletter. Thank you, Deb. Online outreach, we did paid Facebook advertising and ran an email campaign to our library contacts. And I was on the radio, with WCBC, Allegheny Radio, and WFWO, promoting the town hall and the survey. Collectively, these efforts reached over 20,000 impressions across all channels, significantly expanding the awareness of the survey in the town hall. Total cost of the outreach campaign was $2,559.30, representing nearly 30% of the library's marketing department's total annual budget, not including staff time. A couple context insight. While Westernport has shown strong vocal advocacy for the library, the survey response volume, despite we did do incentives, we did anyone that did online survey, in-person, paper survey, as well as we did tabling at Mount Ridge High School, and offered chances to win a gift card to a local business of their choice. And all the outreach that I have just mentioned, that the survey response volume was just a little bit less than we expected. That it suggests a distinction between the emotional support and the sustained engagement that we're seeing. And this mirrors some of the existing usage data that we have. So bottom line, while the survey does not represent a statistical consensus, in total, the Westernport Library Service Area has about 6,200 residents, and that's all the way from Barton to Piedmont, to some parts of Kaiser, Rawlings, including all those areas, about 6,200 people. And of course, we got the 76 responses from 74 people. But it provides a clear directional guidance when considered alongside circulation, program attendance, and in-person engagement. Respondents consistently value a visible, open staff and welcoming library that emphasizes core services, flexible hours, and community connection. The findings reinforce that Westernport Library's strength lies in not in specialized alternatives, but in its role as an accessible, everyday public space. Are there any questions around the survey results?
Sounds like you touched every base possible to get people to.
We really did, yeah, that, the mailer was really the most, really expensive part of it, which was about $1,300, for 2,500 households, so, I think, I have to, and I think it was maybe 26, because we put the QR code on there in the URL. 26 people either scanned it or went to the URL. So that was a little disappointing that it wasn't more, but you know, that was really the first mailer that I've done in my tenure here. So it was a good, you know, test to see the engagement on that. So a lot of people said that they were made aware of it by the mailer, but the connection between that and getting them to engage in the survey or come to the town hall was a bit of a disconnect. So it was good to learn.
And that was the mailer that also had the opposite side that was advertising the temporary location. So the other goal we had with the mailer was that it would increase awareness that the temporary location existed, and we would see participation and patrons coming through the door. And I'm not sure that we have seen a lot of new people. I think that the levels of usage at the temporary location seemed fairly equal to the participation that we had prior to the flooding at 66 Main Street. So I think it's the people who use and like the library are still using and liking the library. But I'm not sure that we've heard, I was hoping that we'd hear more from non-users to see if there were things that we could be providing at the library that would entice them to become library users. And I think that we were not successful in engaging with those folks. The other thing I wanted to just make sure that we emphasize that there is a QR code on this flyer. And that takes you to a page where everyone can view the raw data. We thought it was very important so that people could see, and we were being very transparent about this process throughout, that people can go to this link and they can actually see the survey responses by going to this website.
There you go.
So, I think that, you know, overall, there was a lot of investment in October to try to connect with, the community. And we were left, you know, when we received, you know, the 74 unique respondents, that was, you know, that certainly didn't hit the mark as far as what we were hoping to accomplish with this. So.
But I think that just raising the awareness of the move, if that was, figure 50% of the money was the back. So was there, I love this on the bottom, by the way.
Oh.
I think that's really nice to see everything, all the phone numbers, locations, easy to do.
We try to do that on a lot of the flyers, part of the branding. Thank you.
I'm a little confused how Mondays can be both convenient and convenient.
Yes.
We are
What's interesting
too.
about it, yeah.
Yes,
50-50.
yeah.
So where we go next with this, I think, is that we're, you know, again, we're looking at the operating schedule, to be able to take this feedback and maybe incorporate that into the hours of operation, but I think Ashley mentioned that she's, putting this out as a press release so that we're letting people know the results as we promised that we would. I will also share this with the folks over at the county who also asked for us to provide this information to them. And I guess we, you know, we would be interested to know what your impressions as the board are with the survey and any of the information that we've presented.
It's very indicative of our county.
Yeah,
There is very little participation. I think 74 out of what you sent out was really good. We did a 4,000 door hanger. We went around almost 4,000 and got 36. So.
Yeah.
And that's with a chance of winning a $200 gift card, 5 chances to win.
The lousy survey one is awful.
yeah, it's like, it's not surprising, but it's still disappointing when I think about some of the pretty fierce backlash that we received and the hateful comments and the behavior is not reflected in what was, you know, a pretty short survey.
Now, Carrie DeMichael did ask me to survey every child in the building, but I did do one class and picked out a few questions, but it was really, those kids have to be taken to the library by their adults, and the adults really are the ones to fill out the survey. So that's why we put it on our school door and put it in the newsletter. I was like, the library, and figured even if 1 or 2 people did, that would be 1 or 2 that.
Yeah, I think you guys did a great job. I think getting survey responses is tough.
And since COVID, it's gotten worse than it was prior to. I don't understand why, but you can offer everything for classes or courses or surveys or whatever the case may be. And the participation level is still extremely poor.
And it doesn't match what people ask for.
Right.
Yeah, I see it in my own experiences professionally. It's, you know, what is desired isn't exactly reflected in the participation.
And I'm seeing it with, I'm involved in the Enough Act, and we have 2 census tracts that, we're trying to eliminate child poverty and trying to get participation from the areas is almost, I mean, even asking for people to be community ambassadors and giving them a stipend, I still got only 5 people. And by the time I tried to contact them, 1 person responded. I mean, I just don't know what the disconnect is yet, so,
We could do a survey, but no one responded.
right, I mean, and, you know, we're trying different approaches, maybe some focus group, focus meetings, with some different incentives. We're trying to figure out like how to get people more involved and tell us, you know, and I mean, when you ask the question of, well, how do you want to be contacted? You get a gambit of everything. There's just no, you know, and when do you want classes or whatever it may be? Evenings, mornings, and you have them all that time and no one shows up, you know, so.
And just like tonight, there's nobody here. We had that discussion many times over that if we're gonna take this on to save these libraries, it's just not when you're in trouble. It has to be a commitment. And there's not one person here
I know. So
from my town, from Western, from anywhere.
Anybody online?
There's
Already, and then
three
there's
people.
one person that says user, so I don't know if that's staff or member of the public, so.
I think-
But I mean, it's very indicative of what we're dealing with. It's not
Yeah. But I think.
a reflection on your efforts. It's just a reflection on the county itself.
And I
It's
guess-
everywhere.
Jack, this is kind of directed to, you know, the Georges Creek area in general. I mean, the whole community, I think, feels a little bit dejected and left out. And, you know, we're always forgotten.
Right.
I think that plays into it a little bit, is that we're asking these questions, but what's actually going to be delivered as a result of how they answer? And I think that has played, you know, it's kind of chipped away at people for a long time. And so they've said, and what's the point in responding, because nothing will change, is kind of the attitude.
Yeah, and I agree.
And I totally respect that as someone who lives here.
Like, before I came on the board took what we wanted and did everything they could to make it happen. So that was proven right there that if they come, express their opinions, the board did this. You guys were on the board, I wasn't then, but we wanted to save the libraries. We did want to change the guards. And you listened and you did it. So, and I've said to many of them, you know, what more do you want? The board did what you asked for. Now it's our turn to put up to our end of the board. So, yeah, it is, but some of them are just a little off yet. And your surveys exactly where you're at. We had one for a water company. Out of 1,700 that went out, 301 of them, we were lucky because they didn't need to be online billing or questions, but we didn't get a full big response either.
No, it's just, it's sad, and I don't know if, there's distrust in politics and, you know, everything that's going on in our world, and, you know, people see the state budgets and, you know, in deficit, the county budget's in deficit, so they know they feel that it's gonna, you know, they're not gonna get anything they ask for, so why spend the time? There's trust issues, there's, you know, a lot of that happens too, but we are here providing a service and we want to make sure that with what we have to give, we want to make sure that we're giving, what we can and what's useful, so, but just keep doing what you're doing. I mean, your efforts were not,
Definitely not a reflection of.
yes.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, one of the things that we'll be deliberating on is like, how should this influence the decisions ahead, you know, as far as, you know, when you're looking at the operating schedule and people both like and hate Monday. You know, there's just a lot to parse out.
And
with
of
that.
those 74, how many actually answered that question?
Right. Right, so you're sort of, you're hoping that you get more data-driven decision-making from these processes, but at the end of the day, when the participation is so low, and it was really kind of surprising to me because I thought that there was such passion coming from the community that people would be very, you know, enthusiastically participating in the process, but it didn't appear to be
And that's always
So.
the intent.
Mhm.
You know, whether it be surveys, you know, courses that you're giving, classes you're offering, you know, you give so much and you think it's really, because this is what you're hearing,
Mhm.
and you get very little participation. And then you go, well, what more can I do?
Mhm.
Just continue to do what you're doing and do the best that you can.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the 74 unique folks, it could very much equate to the people who are actually, you know, coming into the building and using the library. That could be the passionate, like, library users
Mhm.
in a nutshell. So, yeah.
And just surveys in general, there's just so much news and, I mean, there's Facebook, I have 3 email accounts, and there's the local news, the national news. There's so much in our face that,
Mhm.
so I'll get a survey from Amazon or something, and I'll think, I just can't do anything.
Okay, so, we're gonna send out the press release and, you know, we'll see if there's any, you know, further feedback that we get. And again, you know, trying to be as transparent as possible with presenting the results to everyone so that they can see, what everyone had to say. So there's some of it summarized here, but they can also see the actual responses as they were submitted in the survey.
When you do the press release, are you going to open the survey back up in hopes of collecting more information or?
No, I don't think that we plan to do that. Anything else, Ashley, you wanted to add to the conversation?
I think that's it, and we'll review the public library survey data next month.
Shay?
All right. I did 5 things for November and December, but I'll be quick. So in November, I shadowed Kathy Roby's Meal in a Mud program at the South Cumberland Library. Kathy is a service specialist there. She's been doing that program for a couple years now. She does a session for adults, and she also does a session for kids after school. We see really, really great numbers specifically with the kids program. It's very engaged, targeting that low income, you know, poverty area in that community. So we're really excited to expand that through the Let's Grow, Let's Cook, Let's Eat grant that Lisa applied for back in the fall. And that is the $20,000 grant from the State Library Association. So I shadowed Kathy's program to help with the logistics and planning of the additional programs. And we're going to try to bring that to all of the branches and expand it as South Cumberland as part of that grant program series. So we continue to work on the Battle of the Books. So that included hosting online information sessions to try to get more interested families and students. And we did end up having one team sign up from Westmar Middle. So we have a 6th grade team at Westmar Middle, and the library media tech there is the coach. So we're happy about that. We had a really productive 2025 summer reading wrap-up meeting with myself, the StoryCorps, and then Ashley and Renee. So we reviewed, you know, our survey data, and sort of did a little review from last year, talked about things we want to change, and then we have a pretty good plan moving forward for this year. So we've already jump-started some summer planning efforts for 2026. Supporting the library ambassadors, so helping with my role in that and attending the meetings that we have for that. Attended the State of the County. In December, I attended the Maryland Tech Connect conference, which was at the University at Shady Grove. Maryland Tech Connect is a library-specific conference for public, school, and university libraries. The topic was technology as a community building tool, so I attended sessions. The keynote was on AI, but having people represented from underserved minorities in the room when you're building these AI systems, not just, you know, as an afterthought, you know, evaluating if they're inclusive at the endpoint, but sort of trying to get more of those voices before that. There was a presentation on deaf culture and how that ties into AI and different online tools, and how we can be inclusive in that way. There was a Cricut program, and some makerspace programs. I helped with the holiday meal kit giveaway. So Amber Shipley, again, did a lot of great work for us on that, here at LaVale. And then, working with her and the rest of the team, we, picked up supplies. Lisa met us at Aldi. We got a huge, got the van all packed up of food. And then we had a nice, volunteer team here packing everything up. And then I helped, distribute them, to Georges Creek and, Westernport. We had a AI program here at the LaVale Library that I co-facilitated with, Bradley Ditto from ACPS and React. And that was on smart tech, smarter families, navigating AI wisely and ethically, just some tips for families, specifically. And we had, 9 participants at that program. In December, I did quarterly check-ins for my 7 supervisees. And I have previously done a via character strengths staff development activity with my team. If you guys are familiar with that, it's sort of a positive psychology thing. I really like it. I've personally used it. Basically, it's just 24 character strengths, and then it tells you your top one. So I try to incorporate that into my feedback in my quarterly check-ins this time, and I thought that was nice. And then we had a nice holiday party at Oscars that we planned with Lexi and the fun committee that I attended. And then I have just 2 more things that I wanted to highlight that will be happening before the next board meeting, for your to make you aware, and if anyone wants to come and participate. So we are participating in Take Your Child to the Library Day this year. We'll be celebrating that February 5th, so Thursday, February 5th through Saturday, February 7th. So we're doing Thursday to Saturday, so there's an opportunity to celebrate at all the branches since we have different hours. It is a nationwide initiative. It started in Connecticut libraries. Getting children in the library is obviously the main goal. We're gonna have a couple fun activities. We're gonna do a guessing game, but instead of jelly beans, we're gonna have a plastic bag and it's gonna be full of books. And then you guess the number of books, and then we'll do gift cards for that. We have a couple other bingo, little door hanger crafts for the kids, and then a special scavenger hunt, but this one's sort of like a clue, so they'll have to go. So this one says, I would like to learn a new recipe, where can I go? And then go to the cookbook section, and the next clue will be there. So fun little interactive thing for that. And then we do have some stickers, and then a little gift card for the guessing game winner. And then also in February, we are doing a winter reading game. So this is a little tie into the Winter Olympics, sort of a winter reading challenge. Several other systems around the state do things like this. So basically you just, get one of these logs every 15 minutes, you color in or mark off the snowflake, turn it back in, and there'll be 3 levels of prizes. So the first log will be, the bronze, you get a little keychain. The second log you return will be silver, you get a little ribbon. And then the third log is a little bracelet. So we're doing just some, little participation prizes for the number of logs returned, but then also for each log returned, we're gonna do a grand prize drawing for a cozy reading basket. So a nice basket with maybe, a mug, some tea, for encouraging reading in the cold weather. And then I think we're gonna do a WISP gift card as well for the other grand prize. So if you have any children in your life or any caregivers, if you want to encourage them to bring them to the library that first weekend of February. Oh, there's also 2 more. These are the last things I promised. There's 2 special events going on that Saturday, February 7th. So we're having our a Saturday story time at the South Cumberland Library for Valentine's Day theme. A special Saturday story time. And then at the Frostburg Library, they're doing a really cute program that is a stuffed animal village. So you can bring your own stuffed animal, or we do have some that we'll be giving away for people to adopt. So you bring your stuffy, and then we have different stations, vet, library, post office, clothing, and then there's little activities, so you can take your stuffy and have a snack, take them and, send a letter at the post office. So I think that will be really fun for the kids. So
How many library ambassadors approximately?
how many did we have at the meetings?
Me.
Like
30 or?
19 the first meeting,
Mhm.
and then the second one. I don't remember the number for that one,
Maybe around 12 to 15
maybe.
members of the public, yeah, so.
But I'm having company on the weekend, but I could drop into the luncheon and see who the people
Absolutely.
are if I could. It's been Wednesday, so I play handball, sorry, I can't come, but Saturday I'd like to sneak over.
Sure.
How many, meal kits for the holidays?
We had
We're doing
500 kits that we created. And they were, distributed in various quantities.
Were they
throughout
all
the library?
Given out?
They were not all given out before, the 350 were given out before Christmas. There was a couple given out from Christmas to New Year's. I believe we may still have some at some of the branches. And if not, we coordinated donation like to just today at Washington Street, just had 10 left that he took to the food bank. So if we do have any leftovers, we're, donating them to other community partners.
Thank you. Lexi?
No. Do we want to do the policies first?
Whatever you wanna do first.
We'll do this first, because I've never done that. These three are just they were gaps that I found in our handbook. Specifically, the workplace violence and the nursing mothers, that was kind of implied, but there was nothing specific pertaining to it. So for nursing mothers, we covered nursing and childcare, and then I'm just gonna kind of hit the highlights on it. It follows the Fair Labor Standards Act and the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, and the Pump Act. So they're able to pump, they have a safe place to do that. They can store their milk if they need to. They have a place to wash their equipment, blah, blah, that. Then childcare, it was advised, do not bring sick children to work, but when children are underneath 1 year of age, sometimes they have trouble feeding with the bottle, things like that. That way they can coordinate with me and their manager to come in, have the child brought in, do what they need to do to make sure their kid's healthy. Move along. And really the only stipulation on it is if it's being thought to be abused or anything like that, that's when it's gonna get involved, but. So read that over, tell me what you think. What was next? Voluntary sick leave. So this was asked about from a staff member, and I looked into it, so we can't donate it willy-nilly. My professional term. But
Yeah, exactly. I feel that's very professional.
But when I did the research on it, we can donate it as long as they have a cap. So if they have, I think what it says, they have to have, after donate, they have to have 240 hours. So they still can take care of themselves. And to donate, the person that is receiving it has to be in critical need. So what I was asking for is, where did I put? They need to exhaust all their accrued sick leave. I need kind of some sort of note from their doctors or whatever's going on that they're going to be lasting to use it. And then the same thing kind of it's held in confidence too. There's a form, I don't have it with me, but it's filled out by both the giver and the receiver, and I send it into the state of Maryland because they don't get paid out on the donated. So if the person's donated it and so they have to leave, I can't pay them. Other than that, same thing, if they're abusing it, that's when we kind of get more involved, but other than that. Good to go. And then workplace violence, this is kind of lightly outlined in the handbook, but I thought we should have something more substantive for things like restraining orders, domestic violence situations. You never really know what's going on, so I wanted to kind of be like, here's the prohibited behavior of what's going on. And then highlight on how to report it. If you're going through something with domestic violence, we recognize things can occur in any type of relationship and that safety action or precautions will be taken in the library and same for future. So if they think something's gonna happen, let us know. We'll put the security that's in place for them. That's the highlights on them. But they're there for you guys to read through. If there's any changes or questions.
let me know.
Is the under 1 year of age for the childcare, is that like standard, or where did 1 year age?
Off the research that I did, the standard ones were just doing 1 age or 1 year. I can go find the link to that too. I don't remember what website it was on, but
That's standard. I think a lot of people, it's longer than 1 year. Like childcare in general, like a 2 year old is really like a good benchmark.
okay.
But if that standard is good, then
I can look, or I can go back and look, but, if not, I can change it.
The sick leave donation one. Will this need to be revisited once we know one way or another if the family policy is in place? Just because that doesn't run concurrently with sick time and vacation time and everything, so.
Yeah.
Once we
I don't
know
think so.
what it's doing, what we're doing with it.
I found about the family the other day, and then I meet with, all of the statewide HR people, once a month, and I'm actually meeting with them Thursday, so I'm gonna ask them about that too. So I'll have more answers on it.
And I'm probably gonna host another family update this year at some point. Once we get through the session and we know if it's actually gonna move forward, we're gonna host that, so that might be a place where you can ask that question too, but
That would be
that was the only question I had, and that was having to maybe revise it again
Yeah,
at some point.
well, then I'll tell them what I've been up to. So, first things, I'm just gonna hit on some high points. All the Q4 and end of year taxes, things have been turned in. W-2s are gonna be done tomorrow. I did a course in beginner ASL, so that was pretty fun. I don't know how often I'll be using it, but yeah.
It's good to know, just a little bit.
Yeah, I also sent it out to all of the staff and encouraged them to participate. I think Lisa's gonna be participating in the course. It's a fabulous course. I did increase communication to admin, so we now have direct lines that go straight to us, because sometimes somebody wants to make suggestions, but doesn't want to shoot it to us in an email or something like that. We have direct lines right to us. We did the holiday party. I think it went pretty well. I don't know how many people were there, 15, 20? I wasn't there. I was sick. You were sick.
Actually,
About 15.
I know, that's what I said. It was a good turnout. I met with the fun committee after. They gave me a bunch of ideas. So then what we're gonna be doing now is kind of working on the entire year. We're meeting next week. But we're gonna bring back years of service awards. Lisa gave me a couple ideas. I went through and got everybody's exact amount of years of service, so that'll be coming back. We're drafting up a workplace decor policy, just because there's been stuff that's like not really appropriate for the workplace, and we want to kind of put out a more like organized, put together front to the public. There was some issues with children in the library, so what we're working on is I want to bring in a trainer for how to kind of de-escalate for children, because children is not my expertise. I cannot train adults on that. As much as I would like to try, I can't. And even if I worked with Kate Metzger, I'm not the person to do it. So I'm looking around for somebody who can help our staff talk to children, parents. So if you know anybody, let me know. I've been looking around because I'm not the one. And then right now, currently, we have guidelines in place for children's behaviors, and we're gonna switch it to kind of rules and guidelines. Because in my opinion, no shoes is not a guideline, it's a rule. Put your shoes on. That's my opinion. Let me see. That's, trainings. The de-escalation training is in the works. I finished the outline for it. It is getting formatted now. That's kind of when we have discussions in the library with patrons, they like to put a lot of their own personal opinions in. This is kind of having readiness and the practice to be like, hey,
I'm kind of neutral on that. I don't like to discuss it at work. So it's the basis of that and kind of like compartmentalizing and why it's important and how it can benefit. We're doing a productivity training that's coming up in the January staff meeting, CPR training. And I think that's it. I think that's the interesting stuff.
I have a couple of thoughts on training.
Yes, please let me know.
Yeah. I wrote myself a note.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just not my forte.
Oh, yes.
I did not put motion required for policies, but we probably do need to do a motion whether you will approve those 3 policies that Lexi just presented.
Okay, can we, table that till next time
Yes.
to, give us all a chance to look at them, because I think we went over them very quickly.
Will do.
Yeah, and if you have any changes, just shoot me an email. And I'll just add you onto the document.
Okay.
Okay, as Lisa already mentioned, many HVAC issues at various branches, so that's been a big issue lately. I've been still upgrading all of the equipment at all the branches, the switches and things like that. I've contacted Comcast and Xfinity Appalachian Broadband about services for the new Westernport location. In fact, I just spoke with them just before the meeting today, and we should have some new services there soon. Public Wi-Fi, things like that, public PC, as soon as we can get those services turned on. So I don't think that's going to be long. I think one of the problems was we wanted to port to the original Westernport phone number. That has to be ported to a different service provider. That took some time, but I think we're almost there on that. So, we'll be adding some services there. Equipment, for a few things for Westernport. But yeah, we'll have a fax machine soon and a public PC, and I have to set that equipment up. So that's a lot of those Westernport and so it's just maintenance type things.
And, just to piggyback on the CDBG and the HVAC in Washington Street. Figuring out stages will be good too in the 5-year plan. I think if we can do it in stages, you can ask, you ask when you put in the, application, put in the complete amount. So if it's $400,000 for the complete, and then you stayed in there that first year, we could do first phase, phase 2, phase 3, and that way they know to incorporate that into the 5-year plan.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Okay, great. Any public comment? Renee's doing chairs already. I'm like, yeah.
No one online has requested to address the board.
Okay, well, any closing remarks? Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn? So moved. All right. February 10th, South Cumberland. See you there.